Hello everybody and welcome to this video. In today's video we're going to talk about basic if structure in R. So here I am assigning the variable x to be 5, so number 5 is assigned to x, and I would like to have an if condition there. So I would like to print the value of the variable x only if x is greater than 3. Assume that we don't know x equals 5, and I want to write down a condition to see that, okay, to check first if x is greater than 3 or not. If so, I want to print this message, x is greater than 3. So in order to have this condition, I use the if keyword and then I put the condition inside the parentheses. So if x is greater than 3, then print x is greater than 3 message for me in the output. So when I run this code, because x equals 5, this message is being shown here in the output. But if I initialize the x to be 2 and I run the code, we see that here it shows no message in the output with respect to this if condition, because we didn't say if x is less than 3, do something. We simply said that, okay, if it's greater than 3, do something. For example, print x is greater than 3. But if it's less than that, it's not going to do anything. So now if I have x equals 7, I run the code, it says x is greater than 3. Now let's see another example. Here we are having the if else condition. So here we are having if with else condition. We are having the age to be equal to 18, and we are having the condition to be checked. If age is greater than or equal to 18, this is the condition, implement this part of the code, which is going to print you are an adult. Otherwise, print this part of the code, you are a minor. So because 18 is greater than 18 or equal to 18, this part of the code is executed, which says that you are an adult. But if I have, for example, age to be equal to 15 and I run the code one more time, we see that this message is being shown here, you are a minor, meaning that this age equals 15. So it checks to see 15, is it greater than 18? No, therefore this part of the code is not executed. It goes to the else part and it prints you are a minor as we see it here in the output. Thanks for watching. Hello everybody and welcome to this video. In today's video we're going to have some coding exercises with respect to multiple conditions in R. So here I have a variable called score. It is equal 85. It is equal to 85. And we would like to have a grading system, meaning that, for example, if the score is greater than 90, I'm going to have the print of grade. I'm going to assign A to the grade. If its score is greater than 80, I'm going to assign B to the grade. If it's greater than 70, I need to assign C to the grade. And otherwise, if none of the condition above is passed, we're going to assign F to the grade. And finally, we are printing that grade variable in the output. So firstly, the score equals 85. So 85, is it greater than 90? No. So this part of the code is not executed. So 85, is it greater than or equal to 80? Yes, it is correct. So it is going to assign B to the grade variable. Okay. So this is why when we run the code, it says your grade is B. So this is your grade is, this is the message that I'm writing here. And then the grade variable, which B was assigned to it, is being printed in the output. So if instead of having like 85, if I have, for example, 65, and I run the code here, we see that it says your grade is F. This F is assigned. So 65 greater than 90? No. Greater than 80? No. Greater than 70? No. Therefore, we go to the else part and this F is being printed in the output as we see here. So F is assigned to the grade variable and then we're printing it here in the output. Now let's have an example of combining conditions with AND operator. Here I have a variable called X that is equal to 10. I'm having a variable called Y equals to 20, and I have an if condition here. I check to see if x is greater than 5 and at the same time y is greater than 15. So when we are having the AND operator, both of the conditions must be true in order to have the pass of this condition. Okay, so if x, this part of the condition is true, but this part of the condition is not true, it's not going to execute this part. But both of the conditions must be true. So 10, is it greater than 5? Yes. Y, is it greater than 15? Yes, because 20 is greater than 15. Therefore, print both conditions are true. But if I remove here and remove 0 from the y, so x equals 10, y equals 20. So 10 is greater than 5, yes, and 2 is greater than 15? No, it's not true, because that is not true. It's not going to execute this part of the code. So here, for example, in order to review, x equals 10 and y equals 2. So 10, is it greater than 5? Yes, but 2 is not greater than 15. Because this part of the condition is not true and we are having an AND operator here, the whole condition is not going to pass because we are having an AND operator. And for AND operator, both of the conditions must be true. So if I run the code now, we see that this message is not being shown there anymore. Why? The reason is that x is greater than 5, but y is not greater than 15. So now I revise it and I assign 20 to y, and we see that both conditions are true is shown here in the output. Okay. So now let's talk about the OR operator. In the OR operator, we are assigning, we are checking this condition. X greater than 15 or y is greater than 15, meaning that either if one of these two conditions is true, we can print this message. At least one condition is true. Okay, so because we are having an OR operator, one of them should be true, not necessarily both of them. Both of them could be true, but not necessarily it is required to have both conditions to be true. So 10 is greater than 15. Is it true? No, it's not true. But we're having an OR operator. So let's go and check the second condition. Y is greater than 15. So 20, is it greater than 15? Yes, it's true. Therefore, print this message. At least one condition is true. So this is the difference also between the AND and OR operator. So in this video, we dealt with multiple conditions example. We learned about the OR operator and AND operator. Thanks for watching. Hello everybody and welcome to this video. In today's video, we're going to have an example of vectorized if-else condition in R. So I have a vector called numbers, and these are the elements of my vector. 1, 5, -2 or -2, 0 and 10. So these are the elements of a vector called numbers. And I would like to have the if-else condition to be checked for all the elements in the numbers vector. In order to do that, I have an if-else condition. So if-else is there. Inside the parentheses, I'm going to write down the conditions and the relevant outputs. So I would like to say if the elements in the numbers vector, if they are greater than 0, print positive, otherwise print non-positive. Note that they are separated by a comma. Okay, I'll say it one more time. If the elements in the numbers vector greater than 0, print positive and not positive messages in the output. And then all of this is assigned to a vector that is called a result, and we're going to print result in the output. So number 1, is it greater than 0? Yes, so this condition is passed. Positive is assigned to the first element of the result vector. 5, is it greater than 0? Yes, positive is assigned. -2 is greater than 0? No, so not positive is assigned. 0 is greater than 0? No, so not positive is assigned here again. And then 10 is greater than 0? Yes, so positive is assigned. So this is basically how we can have an if-else vectorized if-else condition here. So let's have another example here as well. So I have a new vector called temperature, and we are having these numbers as the elements of this vector: 35, 15, 25, and 5. So we are having a condition being checked here. So there are multiple conditions to be checked actually. So we are saying that if the temperature, if the element in the temperature vector is greater than 30, print hot. If it is greater than 20, print warm. If it is greater than 10, print cool. Otherwise, print cold. Okay? Meaning that if, for example, a temperature is greater than 30, the hot is printed. If it's greater than 20, the warm is printed. If the temperature is greater than 10, it's going to print cool. But if neither of these conditions are true, if neither of them is true, print cold for me in the output. So let me illustrate it with the example. So 35, is it greater than 30? Hot is being printed. So we see hot in the output. 15, is it greater than 30? No. Is it greater than 20? No. Is it greater than 10? Yes. So cool is being printed. Then 25, is it greater than 30? No. Is it greater than 20? Yes. So warm is being printed. Finally, 5, greater than 30? No. Greater than 20? No. Greater than 10? No. Therefore, cold is being printed in the output. So all of these if conditions, whenever they are decided, which hot, warm, cool, or cold string is going to be assigned to our vector, whenever they are decided, they are going to be assigned to the weather vector, and we are printing here the weather vector that we see here. Okay, so 35, it's greater than 30, hot is assigned to the weather vector. Then 15, it's cool, cool is assigned. 25, it's in the warm category, warm is assigned to the here. 5, it's great, it's not passing any of these conditions, so cold is assigned to the weather vector. Finally, we are printing the weather vector as you see here: hot, cool, warm, and cold. All of them are being shown here in the output. So in this video we learned about vectorized if-else condition. Thanks for watching. Hello everybody and welcome to this video. In today's video we are going to have conditional assignment in R. So here I'm having number 7 being assigned to variable x, okay, and then I'm having variable y, but in order to have the variable y I have an if condition. In order to define it we need to understand this if condition firstly. So here I have an if condition for assignment of the variable y. And inside the parentheses, so the condition of if is the following: if the variable x is divided by 2 and the remainder of their division, because we are having the modulus operator, the remainder of their division equals 0, y is assigned the even string. Otherwise, odd is assigned to y. Okay, so let me say it one more time. So if 7 is divided by 2 and the remainder of this division equals 0, if this condition is true, assign even string, the string even, to the variable y. Otherwise, meaning that if this condition is not true, assign odd string to the y variable. So when I run this code, we see that here odd is being printed because 7 divided by 2, the remainder of their division is not equal to 0. But if I have the x equals x equals 8, so 8 divided by 2, the remainder of this division equals 0, and I run the code one more time, we see that this condition is true. Even is assigned to the variable y, and we're printing the variable y, which is here, and we see it here in the output. Now let's have another example: conditional variable creation. So I have a variable called value and number 15 is assigned to it. Okay, so we are having a variable here called category, and we are checking these if conditions to decide the value of the category. Okay, so if the value of this variable called value is less than 10, assign small to category. If that number is less than 20, assign medium to the category. Otherwise, if neither of these two conditions is true, assign a large to the category. And when I run the code, we see medium is being printed in the output because value equals 15. 15, is it less than 10? So no, this condition is not true. Therefore, this part of the code is not executed. So 15, is it less than 20? Yes, therefore medium is assigned to the variable category, and here we are printing category in the output. Okay, so basically this is how we can have the conditional variable creation in R. Thanks for watching. Hello everybody and welcome to this video. In today's video, we're going to write a program to check if a number is a positive number and also is an even number. In order to make sure that a number is an even number, we are having the following definition. If a number is divided by 2 and the remainder of this division equals 0, it means that that number is an even number. Otherwise, it's an odd number. So let me write it down here for you. So a number is an even number if that is divided by 2 and the remainder of this division equals 0. Okay, otherwise it is an odd number. So this is the definition of an even number. We would like to check to see if a number is an even number and at the same time it's a positive number, and at the same time is an even number. So in order to do that, to check that, to write that program, we are assigning number 4 to a variable called a, and we are using the assignment operator. Okay, this is the assignment operator to assign number 4 to a variable called a. It could be any name, whatever we want, we can choose it. And then, first of all, we need to check if this number is greater than 0, and then check the condition to see if it's an even number or not. And we need to use if conditions for that. So first of all, we are checking to see if a is greater than 0. If a is greater than 0, meaning that this statement is true, this part of the code is going to be executed. Okay. This part of the code is going to be executed. And inside these if conditions, we are having another if condition that is here. So if a is greater than 0, we entered the first condition, but the second condition is that if a is divided by 2 and the remainder of this division equals 0, it means that not only this number is a positive number, but also an even number. How do we check that? To see if a number is divided by 2, the remainder of that division equals 0. We need to use modulus operator, so the percentage sign 2 times. In order to find the remainder of a division, we need to use the modulus operator. Okay, so a, if it's divided by 2, the remainder of their division is going to be found using the modulus operator is equal to 0. Meaning that that number, if this condition is true, meaning that that number is an even number. Therefore, we are going to execute this part of the code which says a is a positive number. Okay, so when I run this code, this is why we are having this message being shown there. Okay, it says a is a positive number. We could have one else part here that is going to write down this message. For example, a is a positive number but not an even number. Okay, so when I run the code, I see the same message, but if I have number 5, I run the code one more time, I see this message. A is a positive number but not an even number. Okay, so what happened here? So a, it is equal to 5. So 5, is it greater than 0? Yes. Therefore, the first condition is true. It is going to execute this part of the code, but not all of this part. Why? Because we are having another if-else condition. So 5 divided by 2 and the remainder of this division, is it equal to 0? No, it's not equal to 0. Therefore, this part of the code is not executed, meaning that that number is not an even number. Therefore, it goes for the else part, meaning that that number is still positive, but not an even number. Therefore, it is going to print this message. A is a positive number, but not an even number. This message is being shown here in the output here. Also, first of all, we check this part. A is positive, and if A is positive, this part is executed. But what if A is not positive? So I write down this condition here. So print a is not a positive number. So I run the code one more time, but this time I have -5. So when I run this code, -5, is it greater than 0? Obviously not. Therefore, this part of the code is not executed. Okay, but this else part is executed, meaning that it is going to print a is not a positive number. So in this video, we learned about if conditions more in depth. In particular, we learned how to have nested if conditions, meaning that one if condition inside another if condition. Okay, this is what we call nested if conditions. We learned about them and we checked to see if a number is a positive number and at the same time is an even number or not. Thanks for watching. Hello everybody and welcome to this video. In today's video, we are going to write a program to check if a number is positive and also an even number, and also it is an even number. Okay, so we know that if a number is called an even number is a number that is divided by 2 and the remainder of this division equals 0. So this is a definition of an even number. So let me write it here for you so it would be easier to understand. Hello everybody and welcome to this video. In today's video we would like to write a program that checks one score, and it is going to see if this score is grade A or grade B or grade C or below. Okay, so first of all, we need to have the score. We are initializing the score variable, and number 75 is being assigned to the variable score. Okay, now in order to check if this score is categorized in grade A, B, C or below, we need to have if conditions, meaning that, for example, if the score is greater than or equal to 90, it is going to be categorized as grade A. However, if it's greater than or equal to 70, it is going to be labeled as grade B, and otherwise it is grade C or below. Okay, so we need if conditions. So in order to define the if conditions with two conditions and one else part, we are having the following. So we use the if keyword. We are having the condition in the parentheses saying that score is greater than or equal to 90. So if this condition is true, execute only this part of the code. Okay, so if this condition, the first one, is true, it is not going to execute any other part of the code. Only this part of the code is going to be executed. So if the score is greater than or equal to 90, print grade A. But if the score is greater than or equal to 70, execute this part of the code, okay? Grade B. And how do we check that? If you want to define a new condition apart from the first one, you need to write down else if, okay? So if you want to define a new condition apart from the first one, you write down else if. So else if the score is greater than or equal to 70, print grade B. And otherwise, meaning that if neither of these two conditions, this score equal greater than 70 and score greater than 90, if neither of them is correct, go to the else part, okay, and print this part of the code, grade C or below. Okay, so when I run this code, so 75, is it greater than 90? No, therefore this part of the code is not going to be executed. So 75, is it greater than 70? Yes, it's true, therefore this part of the code is being executed, grade B, okay, and not any other part. So we see that grade B is being shown here in the output. So now if I, instead of having 75, I have 95 and I run the code one more time, I see grade A in the output. Meaning that 95, is it greater than 90? Yes. So print grade A. And that's it. It's not going to execute the blue part anymore. Okay? Because 95 is greater than 90 and the the condition is met, so it's not going to execute any other part. However, if instead of 95 I was having like 65 and I run the code one more time, it is going to check 65. Is it greater than 90? No, therefore it's not going to execute this part. 65, is it greater than 70? No, it's not going to execute this part. And finally, it is going to go to the else part because neither of these two conditions were true. So it is going to else part and print grade C or below. Okay, so we see that grade C or below is being shown here in the output. Thanks for watching. Hello everybody and welcome to this video. In today's video, we're going to learn about if conditions. So we're going to discuss if and else conditions in R. So first of all, we would like to have a program to write to see if a number is a positive number or a negative number. Okay. In order to check this, we are having the declaration of variable y, and number -3 is being assigned to this variable y. Okay. So we are having the number -3 being assigned to variable y using the assignment operator. Now I would like to check to see if this number is greater than 0 or not. In order to check that, we need to use if conditions. In order to implement the if conditions, it will be like we would like to execute certain part of the code only if a certain condition is true. And if that condition is not true, we may want to execute another part of the code. Okay. So for example, here, I write down the if keyword and in parentheses, inside parentheses, I write down y greater than 0, meaning that I would like to check to see if y is greater than 0 or not. So if y is greater than 0, then execute this part of the code. Okay. So if y is greater than 0, print this message, y is positive. And we are having the else part. Otherwise, if this condition is not true, then execute this part of the code. Okay. So either this part of the code is going to be executed or this part of the code is going to be executed depending on the value that is assigned to variable y. So when we write down the conditions here, the if conditions inside parentheses, we write down the conditions. We check that, okay, if y is greater than 0, execute this part of the code which says y is positive. So when I run this code, number -3 is assigned to variable y, and the compiler checks to see if -3 is greater than 0. Is it true? No, it's not true. Therefore, this condition is not met. Therefore, this part of the code is not executed. Then compiler goes to the else part, meaning that, okay, do whatever when the above mentioned condition is not true. Okay. So this is why it is printing that y is not positive. It's not a positive number. How do we know that? Because if a number is not greater than 0, therefore it's not a positive number, then it's a negative number. So we print this message, y is not positive. So what if I change the value that is assigned to variable y? Now, this time I would like to assign number 3 to y. So, and I run the code one more time. This time it says y is positive. Why? Because 3 is greater than 0 and only this part of the code is being executed. Y is positive. Okay, so remember this. If conditions is inside the if conditions, it is going to execute only one part of the if condition, either this part or the other part or the other part or the other part. If you are having, for example, 10 conditions, it is going to be executing one part of this whole 10 conditions. Okay, so now y is 3, it is greater than 0, it is printing this part, y is positive. If I write down 30, 30 is still greater than 0, therefore y is positive again, is being printed here in the output. But if I write down, for example, -3 and I run the code one more time, we see that y is not positive message is being shown here in the output. Thanks for watching. Hello everybody and welcome to this video. In today's video, we are discussing if conditions in R. So first of all, I have a variable called x. Number 5 is assigned to the variable x. So x gets 5. And we are assigning this number 5 to the variable x using the assignment operator. Now I would like to check something. I would like to check one condition. I would like to check to see if this variable x has a value that is greater than 0. In order to check that, we need to use if conditions, or let's say if statements. In order to implement them in R, we simply write down the if keyword. Inside the parentheses, we are going to have the conditions, meaning that I would like to execute the following if x is greater than 0. So if x is greater than 0, then execute this part. You see the curly braces here? Execute this part. Print x is positive. Okay. So now when I run this code, I see this message, x is positive, meaning that compiler checks the value of the variable x and checks to see if that value, which is 5, is greater than 0. Yes, it is true. Therefore, it enters this part and execute this part of the code, which says x is positive, and we see it here in the output. Now I change the value of variable x. Now 50 is assigned to x. So what do we see here? X is positive. Again, the same thing is being shown. Why? Because 50 is still greater than 0, and this part is being executed. However, if I assign negative 50 to the variable x and I run the code, we see nothing happens in the output. Why? Because we only defined one if condition saying that, okay, do something only if x is greater than 0. We didn't say that, okay, if x is not greater than 0, do something else. This is why we see nothing here in the output. Okay. So basically in this video, we learned how to declare an if condition and check to see if a variable is greater than 0 or not in R. Thanks for watching. Hello everybody and welcome to this video. In today's video, we're going to learn how to print only even numbers between 1 and 10. In order to do that, we are going to write a for loop and one if condition. Why? Because we need a for loop to go through numbers from 1 to 10, and then we would like to have an if condition to categorize, let's say, the even numbers only, and print the even numbers only in the output. So this is my output, number 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. So these are the even numbers between 1 and 10. In order to do that, first of all, we need to define a for loop. So for each I that is inside this range. Okay, so in order to write down a for loop, we use the for keyword, and I is my iterating variable here. Okay, so for each I that is in the range starting from 1 and ending at 10. Okay, we are going to have this for loop that is this part. But inside the for loop, we are having one if condition. This if condition says that if that I is divided by 2 and the remainder of their division using the modulus operator equals 0, then we realize that that number is an even number. This is a definition of an even number, okay? Print I for me, okay? So first of all, in the first iteration, I gets the value of 1. 1 divided by 2, the remainder of this division. Is it 0? No. How do we know? How do we calculate it in the code? Simply, we are having 2 percentages signs, and it is going to calculate the remainder of a division for us automatically. So 1 divided by 2, their remainder equals 0? No, this statement is not true. Therefore, this part of the code is not going to be executed. And we go for the next iteration. Now I equals 2, because we are still in the for loop, okay? So I equals 2, 2 divided by 2, the remainder of this division equals 0. Yes, it is equal 0 because 2 divided by 2, the remainder will be 0 because 2 is an even number. And therefore, we're going to print I equals 2, which is being shown here in the output. Okay. Then in the next iteration, 3 divided by 2. So in the next iteration, I equals 3. 3 divided by 2. The remainder of this division equals 0. No, because it's an odd number. Therefore, nothing happens and we are not going to execute this line. We go to next line. So if we go for the next iteration, I equals 4. 4 divided by 2. The remainder equals 0. Yes, therefore print the value of 4 in the output. Okay, so this is going to continue as long as the I equals 10 in the last iteration. So this is the ending point. 10 divided by 2, the remainder of this division equals 0. Yes, therefore we are going to print the I equals 10 for the last time. So in the last iteration, we're going to print the value of I, which is I equals 10. Okay, which I equals 10. So basically, in this video, we learned how to work with a for loop to go through numbers from 1 to 10. And then also we defined an if condition inside the for loop to print only the even numbers. And the definition of an even number is the following. If a number is divided by 2 and the remainder of their division equals 0, it means that that number is an even number. Okay. So otherwise it's an odd number. And then if it was an even number, we were going to print it in the output. Thanks for watching.